That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, I know that I'm probably getting annoying doing so, but I need to thank y'all yet again. Yesterday, this channel got over 100 subscribers, which I have never received on any Dynasty Fantasy Football channel before. Y'all know our main channel was originally a Dynasty Fantasy Football channel. Then it had to get turned into a redraft with how the season progressed and where we saw our growth. But yeah, when that main channel was a Dynasty channel, at most we were seeing like 10 subscribers a day, and I was getting extremely excited about it. So the fact that y'all have just been destroying that like button and getting us recommended to so many new listeners means a ton to me, and I truly, truly appreciate it, guys, and I want to give y'all a massive thank you. Well, outside of that, I'm going to ask y'all to do one thing, and that's going to be to go down to the comment section and let me know what player y'all would like me to talk about next. Here, we are going to be talking about Cam Akers because that's what y'all told me in the last video. I believe it was the DeAndre Swift video. Y'all were leaving the comments. I think only 2 people left comments, but one of them got like 8 likes where y'all wanted to hear about Cam Akers. So that's who we're going to talk about. And yeah, we're going to be doing it just like we did with both Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift, where we go through, we take a step back, we look at Cam Akers coming out of Florida State, try to remember what kind of prospect that he was, just so we can get a better overall picture on what we're going to be expecting from his future production, because that is so useful when doing so. All right, so let's go. Let's talk about Cam Akers. And first off, let's talk about the fact that Cam Akers is currently only 21 years old. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to reference this. I don't know how many times I have to talk about the fact that Keyshawn Vaughn was an avoid for us this past offseason, because Keyshawn Vaughn was already 22, 23 years old. And we know that if you look at historical hit rates, the guys that generally produce at the NFL level at the running back position were the players that came into the NFL at 20, 21 years old, because that demonstrates that they had the talent right away, where they did not have to continue to develop at the college level to then go to the NFL. No, they could go to the NFL and then continue to develop their craft there. So that's what we were seeing with Cam Akers, who is still only 21 years old. And he was drafted in the 2nd round of the NFL draft with the 20th pick. And I want to remind everyone that this was the Los Angeles Rams' first selection in the 2020 NFL draft. I mean, they had Darrell Henderson, who they had just selected when the 3rd round the year prior. They just re-signed Malcolm Brown, and they still decided to take Cam Akers with their first pick in the draft, which was the 20th pick in the 2nd round. And if we look at Cam Akers' size, trying to determine if he does have the build where he can be a workhorse 3-down running back, I'm going to use 5'10", 217 pounds, which I know is not jumping off the page for us, but I always like to point y'all to that BMI so we can get a little bit better of an idea of how this running back is actually built. And his BMI is in the 71st percentile, so really have no question marks surrounding his size. If he wanted to, he could easily be a workhorse type running back at the NFL level, seeing 25 carries a game as well as seeing 3 receptions. And if we go to his speed to make sure that he does have that big playability, y'all know at the wide receiver position, I really don't care about their 40-yard dash time unless it's just in the complete gutter like the Laquan Treadwell. They really, there just need to be hitting some small thresholds. Whereas at the running back position, it actually really matters to be able to get through that hole, because we know the running back position is more built on athleticism rather than technicality compared to the wide receiver position. And here, Cam Akers ran a 4.47, which puts him in the 89th percentile. And if we look at what he did at Florida State, I mean, the efficiency was extremely bad. I'm not even going to give y'all the numbers with how bad he was in terms of running between the tackles. But that was because we had seen Florida State have the worst offensive line in the entire country. I mean, this was based on multiple people going out there and studying that offensive line success rate. And it was literally the worst offensive line that you could find for that level of a program. I mean, it was absolutely horrendous. And we know, just like I said with Antonio Gibson this past season, that running back production in college does not mean nearly as much as it does for the wide receiver position. Like I said, guys, the wide receiver in college, what you want to be seeing is you want to be seeing an early breakout rate. You want to be seeing the wide receiver have the majority of the production in his offense. And really, outside of that, you don't really care about his athletic profile. Whereas on the other hand, with the running backs, what I want to see is I want to see them come into the NFL and have the size, which Cam Akers has. I want to see him have the speed, which Cam Akers has, and the team investment where he should line up to get the opportunity in the future, which is what Cam Akers has, being selected with the first pick of the Los Angeles Rams this past season. So Cam Akers checks every box besides the passing game ability. But if we then go and look at what he was able to do at Florida State, his junior season, he was able to take his game up on that level, very similar to what we see with other rookie running backs coming in, guys like Jonathan Taylor. I mean, a lot of these players as collegiate running backs don't necessarily have their skills polished to be a wide receiver very early on in their college career. That is more so of something that needs to develop, and it did so with Cam Akers. And now if we go over and look at what he's been able to accomplish so far in 2020, it has not been that inspiring. I mean, if you look at the raw numbers right now, Cam Akers has played 12 games. He's had 7 receptions in those games. He's had over 120 rush attempts, 662 total yards, and 3 total touchdowns. So here, I'll say a couple things stand out. One, the lack of usage. I mean, where is Cam Akers in terms of getting those carries up? We'll address that question later on in the video, but a more appalling thing, in my opinion, something that is going to give me a little bit of hesitation on Cam Akers, is where is the receiving game usage? I mean, where is him getting targeted out of the backfield like we saw at Florida State? We know in PPR leagues, you really need your running back to be able to log at least 30 receptions a season if we want him to be a difference maker. Very rarely are you seeing players like Nick Chubb. Very rarely are you seeing players like Derrick Henry that can provide you running back one production without having the receptions. Those are more so outliers rather than guys that we should be chasing. So here with Cam Akers, I mean, I really want to see some more usage in the receiving game. But if we are looking at his overall volume, I can easily write this off, guys. If y'all remember, if y'all been following our main channel for a while, y'all know halfway through the season, I was telling y'all, go pick up Cam Akers in your redraft leagues off the waiver wire. Cam Akers is only seeing the sideline because of that rib injury. This is when he was active on game days, but did not see a single touch in 3 weeks. I mean, literally, if you just looked at anything that any team doctor had said, they said that that injury was going to linger. Sean McVay had no incentive to go out there and rush Cam Akers back into action, with Cam Akers being so young, combined with the fact that they had both Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson performing well. So guys, I think that how we should look at his season is before the bye week and after the bye week, because after the bye week, I think that is where we can say that he was healed. I don't know 100%, but enough from that rib injury to be able to get back into action. And before the bye week, if we look at points per game, I mean, it was horrendous. Cam Akers was the running back 55 in points per game, something that we want nothing to do with. But if you look after the bye week, where we presume that he's over that rib injury, there he is the running back 30 in points per game. That's something that we can go out there and chase. As yes, that's not a player that we are wanting to jam into our starting lineup every single week, but what it is it is promising. It's showing us that an extremely young running back in a crowded backfield can still be productive. And if we look at that backfield going forward, if we try to project who is going to be there in 2021, right now there are 3 clear guys, obviously. We have Cam Akers, we have Darrell Henderson, and we have Malcolm Brown. Okay, so the problem here is Darrell Henderson is still under his rookie contract. I mean, he was drafted in the 2019 NFL draft class with the 3rd round pick by the Los Angeles Rams. So here, Darrell Henderson is to stay. I hate to say it. I wish Darrell Henderson would be leaving this situation. But no, he is going to make sure that Cam Akers is not a full-on feature running back. Whereas if we look at Malcolm Brown, on the other hand, who had just signed a contract in the 2020 offseason, if you look at that contract, the Rams can actually go out there and get out of the Malcolm Brown contract. They could cut him if they desire to. And that is what is going to have to happen if we want to see Cam Akers vault up to being a high-end running back 2 in 2021. And this is because we know that Malcolm Brown has been the player that has been vulturing so much value out of this backfield in terms of getting targets as well as getting some usage at the goal line. Darrell Henderson, during his stretch as a starter, proved that he is not going to be a fantastic pass catcher. He was not profiled to be a fantastic pass catcher in the 2019 NFL draft class coming out of Memphis, so we don't have to worry about that. What we have to worry about, on the other hand, is Malcolm Brown leaving this offense. That way Cam Akers can pick up the receiving game usage out of this backfield as well. I mean, if you look at the Los Angeles Rams in 2020, they are currently 10th in total rushing yards per game. So yeah, I mean, clearly none of that is coming from Jared Goff. So what we just need to see is we need to see one man leave this backfield. I think that man is going to be Malcolm Brown. And with Cam Akers, I'm going to have to say that I think that he is going to be a running back 2 in 2021. I would value him as a low-end running back 1 in Dynasty, though, just because he is one of the safest bets that you can make. We know that he has that job 100% locked in. All right, now, thank you guys. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop that like, leave that comment, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I hope I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.